Hey crafty fam, it's Alex Vanover and welcome back to my craft room. If you are new here for the first time, then welcome. I am so excited that you're here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the new offset feature in Cricut Design Space to work with printed pattern HTV. So let's get started. So to get started with this project, the first thing we need to do is choose our file. And I found this unicorn silhouette SVG on creativefabrica.com and I absolutely fell in love with it. So this is what we are going to use today. But I really love getting my images from Creative Fabrica because I have the all access membership. So I pay one monthly price and I can download as much as I want of fonts, files, SVGs, and all that good stuff. So if you don't have this membership already and you want to try it out, you can save 30% on any of their memberships using the code DIYAlex30. So I'll also put the link down in the description along with that coupon code, but feel free to use that if you want it. So I already have this image downloaded, so I'm going to go into Cricut Design Space. But I do want to show you something that's a little bit unique about this SVG file. And in this case, if you want to copy the project the same way that I did it, you want to upload the unwelded version into your Cricut Design Space. This is the SVG file. There's a welded option where the stars are attached to the unicorn, but you want the unwelded option. So like I said, I already have that loaded into my design space, so I'm going to insert it into my canvas. And the first thing that I'm going to do is ungroup the stars from the unicorn silhouette like this. And I'm going to select all the stars using the layers panel here on the right. So I'm going to click this bottom one and then I'm going to scroll all the way to the top of the layers, hold down the shift key and then click the top star. And it looks like it's not going to work the way I want it to, but I'm going to continue holding down the shift key and clicking all these stars. That way I can select all of them without having to go manually click every single one. I don't know why Design Space is bouncing me to the top of the layers panel, but that's okay. So once everything is selected, then I'm going to group all of these stars for now, and I'll show you why here in just a second. And I'm also going to change their color to a really fun neon pink because that's what color I'm going to make them. So next I'm going to select the unicorn and I'm going to create an offset from the unicorn. So once I have the image selected, I'm going to go up to the edit bar up here and click offset. And then as you'll see in a moment, a little outline is going to appear all the way around the unicorn. But this is set to 1/4 inch and I feel like that's a little bit much for this project. So I'm going to take this little dot here and move it to the left to make the offset just a little bit smaller. But of course you can adjust this to be whatever you feel like it should be. I always like to leave my corners selected here with the rounded ones. I feel like the squared off corners look a little funky. So I'm going to leave it rounded and then I'm going to click apply when I'm happy with the size of the offset. And as you can see, I got a separate offset layer. So I'm going to select that layer and I'm going to make it the same color as the stars. And we can leave the unicorn black for now. And then in order to use printed pattern HTV, you have to remember that you cannot layer on top of or underneath printed pattern HTV. So I'm going to keep the unicorn selected. I'm going to hold down the shift key and also select the offset so that I can slice the two of them apart. And this will create a space in the middle where I can put the printed HTV, which is going to be cut out of the black unicorn. And then I'm going to use neon pink StarCraft SoftFlex for around the outside. So I'm going to move my unicorn out of the way. And as you can see, we got an outline and an inner shape. I'm just going to delete this inner shape because we don't need it anymore. So then I'm going to put the unicorn back about where I want it. I'll put the inner shape back in there as well. And then we need to size it for our shirt. So I'm going to be using an adult large size shirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag a box around everything. And I am going to change the size up here at the top to about 9 inches wide. Normally I would do 10 inches, but I feel like that's a little intense for this project. So I'm just going to stick with 9 inches. Then I'll zoom out just a little bit because I need to attach the outline of the unicorn and these stars. So I'm going to click and drag a box around both of these pieces and I'm going to click attach. That way all of this cuts together and then our printed pattern HTV will cut out of this shape. And then when you're finished, make sure to save your project just in case you need to go back to it. And then when you're ready, you can click the green Make It button. Now keep in mind this next part because it's really important. With printed pattern HTV, you do not mirror because there is no carrier sheet on the HTV. So I'm gonna leave this black shape without the mirror turned on. Then I'm gonna go down to the second mat, and since this is gonna be cut using StarCraft SoftFlex HTV, which is normal HTV, it does need to be mirrored. So that can be a little bit tricky, but it's really, really simple when you just remember that printed pattern HTV doesn't get mirrored. And then we'll click continue. Then once your machine connects, you can select the everyday iron-on setting, which is going to work for both the printed pattern HTV as well as the StarCraft SoftFlex. Then once you have everyday iron-on selected, you're ready to hop over to your Cricut machine and cut this design out. To cut printed pattern HTV in your Cricut, you can cut a certain part of the sheet out to make sure that you get the exact spot on the sheet that you want if you have a preference, but otherwise you can just place the entire sheet onto the mat in the upper right-hand corner, but make sure that it is the pretty side up. There is no shiny side of printed pattern HTV, so always place it pretty side up in your Cricut. Then you can insert the mat into your machine and allow your Cricut to cut it. When you cut regular HTV, place it shiny side down just like you normally would and insert it into your machine. Then you can allow your Cricut to cut it as normal on the everyday iron-on setting. Trim away any scrap HTV that you want to save before you get started. Then you can weed just like you normally would. I'm using my pin pen weeding tool from 143 Vinyl, and if you're not using one of these to weed, then you're definitely missing out. So I'll put a link to it in the description. After you're done weeding your printed pattern HTV, next you'll add a transfer mask, also known as a carrier sheet. So just place the weeded piece of printed pattern HTV on top of your transfer mask and kind of measure out what size of a piece you'll need. Then you can trim it away from the rest of the sheet. Next, you can peel the transfer mask off of the backing and you can apply it to the printed pattern HTV just like you normally would. Next, you'll want to use a squeegee and burnish the transfer mask well onto the printed pattern HTV. Then you can remove the HTV's backing so that you basically just have a regular piece of HTV to apply to your shirt. Next, it's time to warm up your heat source. Since I'm using SoftFlex HTV that applies at 285 degrees and printed pattern HTV that applies at 305 degrees, I'm just going to split the difference and apply my HTV at 295 degrees for 15 seconds. First, I'll use my t-shirt guide and place it underneath the collar of my shirt to help me apply my HTV really straight and 3 inches down from the collar. If you want to check out your own t-shirt guide, you can find it in my Amazon store, and I'll be sure to link it in the description as well. Next, I'll take my SoftFlex HTV and fold the design in half to give me a line that I can use to line up with the center of my guide. This just makes sure that the design is completely centered. Then I'll tack this layer down for 5 seconds using my heat press. Next, I'll take off the carrier sheet and apply my printed pattern HTV layer inside the outline. You may notice a little bit of shrinkage with the first layer that you've already applied, and that can happen anytime you work with multiple layers of HTV. So just line it up the best that you can. Then, once you have that final layer on the shirt, press both layers for 15 seconds. Printed HTV has a warm peel. So once you lift up the press, let it cool for a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, before peeling off the carrier sheet, and then you're all done. If you loved seeing a 90s Rainbow Leopard, or if you want to check out any of the other patterns in my DIY Alex collection of printed pattern vinyl and HTV, you can find it on 143vinyl.com. I'll also put it linked down in the description below, and don't forget to use the code ALEX5 to save 5% every time you shop at 143 Vinyl. And if you decide to make anything and you share it out on Instagram, please use the hashtag DIYAlex because I love to see what you guys are making. And if you've made it this far in the video, then I want to get to know you on social media. So find me at DIYAlexVanover on pretty much all major social media platforms. I'll also link everything down in the description below, so it's super easy to find. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more just like it, then be sure to subscribe to the DIY Alex YouTube channel and be sure to ring the bell so that you get notified every single time that I put out a new video every single week. But don't wait for next week's video. Be sure to check out this one next. Or if you want to make your DIY dreams come true, be sure to check out this video. I know that you're going to love it.